Hi, I'm Lisa Leiter. In Chicago Business Today, Nanotech's newest startup. Veteran entrepreneur Chad Mirkin is betting big on tiny gold particles. The Northwestern University professor of biomedical engineering is launching his third startup, AuraSense. The company is developing a therapy that uses the gold particles coated with proteins to mimic good cholesterol by taking harmful plaque from arteries and getting it out of the body. It's a potentially untapped market that some say is worth billions. Mike Colias writes about it in this week's Crains and joined me to talk about it. So Mike, this is Mirkin's latest venture. One of his companies already went public. What are people saying about it?
Mirkin's probably been the most prolific scientist out of Northwestern's Nanotech research. I mean, he's founded a couple companies that have been successful. You know, actually have 100 employees. Each of them have 100 employees working for it. So in terms of sort of getting traction and actually having a startup that builds itself into something commercial, he's shown that he can do it more than anybody, and so people are pretty excited about this one. Really early stages though. I mean, it's a HDL nanoparticle. Basically they developed a nanoparticle that's supposed to mimic what HDL does, the good cholesterol, and it's supposed to strip away the plaque from the arteries. You know, it's been shown to work in animals. It'll be a long time before, you know, it's even tested in humans. Another technology helps biotechs and pharma companies with their with gene regulation, developing gene therapies. So it's more than just one technology, which is good, and you know, people seem pretty excited about the ultimate market opportunity if it should pan out.
Obviously, it takes a tremendous amount of money for a biomedical startup. How is this one being funded?
Yeah, a little bit different. I mean, they're not at really the venture stage yet, and they don't really need to be. They've raised about $2.5 million, mostly from private investors. And at this point, they're okay because they're not developing, they don't need a lot of capital to develop like a big, you know, Nanosphere, for example, was a big diagnostic platform, so they needed money to develop that. This is still sort of in the lab phase. They're not in clinical trials yet, and that's expensive. So at this point, they're actually generating revenue from partnerships with 3 different big pharma companies. They haven't disclosed who, and they're in talks with others. So at this point, they're probably okay on that $2.5 million for a while. If they do get to the clinical trial phase, they'll probably need venture capital. At that point, you'll see an investment in the company.
Are any venture capitalists expressing interest so far?
You know, Chad Mirkin says that he hasn't gone to him yet because he feels like he doesn't need to, but he said he's confident if they needed to pull in 25 million in venture capital, he thinks he could do it right now. He just doesn't see the need, you know, where they're at.
Is this part of Chicago's efforts to try to become some kind of nanotech hub? I mean, where does Chicago stand compared to other cities in that field?
There is a big platform here, and it's essentially born out of Northwestern's investment in this field in the last 15 years. And there was a time where people felt like this could be Chicago's shot. You know, Chicago largely missed the whole biotech revolution, information technology. And people felt like nanotech could be it. I think one problem with that a lot of people see is that it's really not an industry unto itself. I mean, it's sort of a scientific process. You know, this manipulation of matter at the sort of molecular level. I mean, it's done academic labs and industry. It's done as sort of part of the overall R&D process. It's applied to everything from, you know, medicine to solar panels. So it's not an industry in its own right, but when you have a platform like that and you're bringing together chemistry and engineering and materials all as part of this university's, you know, research arm, you know, you can get more spin-outs, and they have over a dozen that have spun out just from nanotech related ventures at Northwestern, and that provides what investors like to call shots on goal, you know, to find a really big successful commercial enterprise.
All right, well, this one will certainly be one to watch over the next few years. Thanks so much for joining us, Mike.
Thank you.
And that's this edition of Chicago Business Today. For more on this story, be sure to check out this week's print edition of Crain's or chicagobusiness.com. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.